What is up, party people? You already know it's your boys, OGP. Chuck's over here. Can't see me. They're my fan. I gotta get higher. Long day. But it's Film Don't Lie, only here on A2D Radio. And it's Super Bowl week. And we're brought to you by, right here, I'm going to give it to my man, Chuck's over here. Who we brought to you by today?
Alonzi Travel, specializing in creating the vacation of your dreams at Disney, Universal, or wherever your heart calls you. Let their talented team of travel experts, including myself, create a custom vacation for you. Yes, indeed, Pete. It is Super Bowl week. I'm completely done with the wait. Like, I like the 2-week delay. Like, I like that it's a 2-week break between the conference championship games and the actual Super Bowl game, because it gives the players rest and stuff like that. But as a fan, I hate the anticipation. I can't. It's like, let's just get to the game. Let's just get to the game. So, yeah. But I'm excited. I'm ready for it. How about you? I don't know how you feeling.
Yeah, like the nerves is settling in a little bit. You kind of want to get it over and done with, especially we saw opening night last night. Both teams took the floor. I think Chiefs were first, and then we kind of had something a little different. We saw NFL on Fox. No more it's almost like the personalities we see on certain programming, certain channels, kind of just freelance now. You know what I mean? Which is, I'm happy for them. We saw Scott Hansen on Fox. You seeing was it Carissa Thompson, I believe, as well. So all these, from everywhere we see these recognizable faces throughout the 18-week season, now you get to see them all those people come together, because guess what, people? It's only one game left. One game left. And this team right behind me that you see, and that team right behind Chuck's, as you see, they're still in it. They still have a chance. They have a chance. Like, listen, I've already taken off a couple of days next week just in preparation for what I'm hearing, but I'm thinking if they win, that the parade may actually be Valentine's Day, because
really,
next week is supposed to be nasty with precipitation. We got an ice storm coming in. If you don't know, we're in the Philadelphia area. We got an ice storm coming in tomorrow night into Thursday morning. So it's more stuff. The roads has already been treated. I was looking at them on my way home from work. It's almost like, hey, you know what? This is get to the game. And I saw something and I noticed something yesterday. It almost felt like the Chiefs were super loose, or tried to appear that they were super loose. I mean, hell, if I just won back-to-back Super Bowls as well, you know what I mean? I would be loose too, you know? So where you can see when the Eagles came out and they hit that podium, it was pretty much like, hey, we here to do a job. Like, we enjoying this, and we're taking it all in, but we're here to do a job. You know what I mean? And that's the one thing I will say about just the anxious and the nerves of it. Everybody by now has probably seen Jalen walking in, and he looks up. I think that was a Super Bowl from 57 that they were airing the replays of. He takes a look at it, does one of these. So it's like, just like the fan base throughout the whole season, like the Eagles can never feel comfortable. They can never rest on their laurels, because even when they were winning, they weren't winning the right way, or the way that you would expect, or optically it didn't look pleasing, or Jalen can't throw for 150 yards and win in a playoff game. Like, there's going to be a point in time where they're going to be forced to, somebody's going to somewhat stop the run or contain the run, right? It goes into our poll question tonight. And that hasn't happened yet. I'm not saying it won't happen, but it hasn't happened yet. We've been hearing the same talk. So they had the bye week in week 4, week 5. So you probably say, I'll say week 8, week 9. So for the last 12 weeks per se, we've been hearing like, yo, can they do it in the pass? Can they do it in the pass game? Can the team listen? One thing I think to learn from 57 is how Spags sold all out to stop the run and 57. And that was without Saquon. So that was without Saquon. So now you got Saquon, and that adds a different layer to it, right? I just want the kickoff to happen. I want to get to the ball. Like, let's get to the game. Pretty sure the players at this point want to get to the game. Obviously, and they're resting up if they have these little nicks and knacks and scrapes and things of that nature. They can rest up some more fine execution and fine details going over it, because we've seen it throughout the whole playoffs. Jalen's been calling out his own protection, seeing things, seeing how they key in things. Spags is going to give you something that's unaccounted for, that's unscouted, that you haven't seen, that he hasn't put on tape. I hope we do the same thing as well, right? So you just hope that if there's 5 plays, you hope you win 3 of them, right? And you hope the 2 that you lose doesn't cause a turnover like it did in 57. Essentially, that's what it was. You know what I mean? Nick Bolton, that pressure, Jalen trying to do too much, and him learning from that now. Just take that sack, don't fumble the ball, even if you got a punt. They don't get 7, because I vividly remember that. It was 14-7 at that point. No, was it 4? It was 14-3, I think, at that point. And they were going down. They had just got another stop. They were going down, probably putting some more points on the board, going up 21-3 or 17-3. Boom, and now we got a 14-10 game. And we still came back right after that and scored and made 21-10. You know what I mean? So, because I think at half it was like whatever it was. But I think this time around, I can't explain it. It's just different. It's like a learning experience almost to a point. And it's almost, I feel almost kind of what the Chiefs felt after they won the first one against the 49ers, came back and lost against the Buccaneers, right? I think, like, if you go back to 57, that was if you look, the roles were opposite. Like, they meant all business. They knew they were here for a reason. They learned from that, right? So I can't wait for kickoff. I know we're going to talk into a little bit more. So how you feeling? Like, outside of everything, I'm taking the first 7-8 minutes of the show.
That's pretty usual. That's pretty usual. I think I said this to you in the chat, and I mentioned it in Birds of a Feather. Not Birds of a Feather, gosh. Shout out to the past in Eagles Talk. This is, out of the 4 Super Bowls that I've witnessed the Eagles be in, this is probably the most confident I am. Okay. I'm not gonna go out and say I'm cocky. I'm not saying like we're gonna blow them out. I know our good friend, we love him, PY. He's the one that's gonna he's already like the day.
He's the most fan of us all.
Oh my God! Like the day of, he was like the day we won against Commanders. He's like, we're gonna blow them out, guaranteed. We're not losing. Like, I'm not like that, obviously. Right. Anything can happen. We don't know how the game's gonna go. And it can happen with one game. And all it is one game, right? And it's the Chiefs. And it's Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Steve Spagnuolo. I mean, those 3, when you have an advantage with those 3, like, you have a really good chance to win against anyone. And the Chiefs have shown exactly why. They're proof of that. But I feel like, similar to what you, like, a lot of Super Bowl 57 has been a learning experience for this team. Mm-hmm. But also, I think this time around the coaching is better. I think our coaching, not so much like, obviously we'll give the advantage to still Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, but it's not like the drop off is that much different. It's not like the drop off is severely, where it was. So like when you're able to make that up and cover more ground in that department in the coaching area, especially on the defensive side. I mean, we have Vic Fangio, who's great in his own right. That's where our talent, our vast talent on the roster, how we out talent them in terms of roster, that's where it comes in. That's where it comes to play. So like I'm confident. That's kind of why I want to get this game over, because I want to be like, let's just see it.
You want to see it almost like it's almost bronze versus brains. So from a roster perspective, a personnel perspective, they have the best player. We have the better team. But I would say, honestly, we probably have, if you're doing a top 10 of the players in this game, regardless of the uniform, Eagles probably have 7-3.
We probably. I'm trying to think. I mean
you could think.
Who would you have on the Chiefs? You have Mahomes, Chris Jones.
And I would probably put. You could vaguely put Creed Humphrey in there, and then maybe Trent McDuffie.
Maybe I
maybe Trent McDuffie, but everywhere else, AJ, AJ, Devontae, I guess you could put Jalen in there somewhere. Saquon, you go Lane, you go Malata, you go Jalen Carter. I mean, it just goes on. And now I'm so glad you said that, right? Because that's the one thing I keep taking away from this is the fact that our coaching staff is in a much better position because we went into it in 57. We were almost kind of like, why are we favored? Like, what have we done to be favored, right? And I was like, Nick hasn't done it before. Shane hasn't been there before. And Gannon hasn't been there before, right? And you kind of almost felt like we all knew, like the reason that our defense was so prevalent was because of the defensive line. But it was really it really wasn't a balanced defense. Yeah, we had decent linebacker play, but we knew the secondary could be had. That's why the 49ers are so damn pissed because Purdy got hurt, because they felt as if there was things that they could take advantage of that they didn't get the chance to take advantage of in the conference championship game. Where now with this defense right now, it's 1 second here. I'll move this out the way. With this defense now, it's younger. So that's the other thing people like. When you watch this, when this show gets released and you're watching it, just let us know you watching it. Put an eagle in the comments. We'll circle back, right?
Go Birds.
But when the Eagles, the defense is younger. They went from being an older team in 57 to one of the youngest teams. And the core talent, that the reason why we got here has been homegrown talent. So, yeah, you don't want to squander an opportunity. But the same way when Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, I'm trying to think who else. They're pretty much, when we played them in 57, their whole secondary was rookies. They got a ring. There's no reason why our rookies can't get a ring come Sunday, right? Mm-hmm. But the coaching matchup and the preparation, the familiarity, the 6 degrees of separation. Like I said, Fangio having the knowledge of playing against Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Matt Nagy. Matt Nagy, when he was in Chicago, Fangio was his defensive coordinator. Then when Fangio went to Denver and was the head coach, his DB's coach, Christian Parker, he now works for the Chiefs. Yeah. Kellen Moore is probably the only wrinkle in here, but he was with he was with the Chargers last year.
Yep.
So he played against Spags in the regular season. So
absolutely.
You're from a coaches and X's and O's perspective. And we hear it, Chris Sims, we hear it, Orlovsky said, we've been hearing it all year. Yes, the passing game is simple. The defense is simple. Listen, up until this point, we haven't had to do shit against anybody else to do it, to mix it up. If it ain't broke, don't try to fix it, right? And with Spags and even Reed, they know in the office, they are undermanned. So they have to win with X's, O's, and schemes. So one of the best things about our defense is our lane discipline, the way we rally to the ball, and the way we communicate. We trust the other man to do their job. Just because you can get to the front side don't mean you need to get to the front side. Your responsibility is to stay backside. And Jawan Taylor against Nolan Smith, I'm looking for that matchup, right? What are they going to do with Joe Thuney? If they're going to leave Joe Thuney on the outside of left tackle, cool, you could do that. But
they probably will.
He's your best line. Now, I will tell you, if I'm them, I got Creed Humphrey, and I could put Joe Thuney back at guard. There's a monster on the other side.
I don't know if I don't know if the Chiefs would do that.
Either way, we have an answer to their the problems that they have. We have multiple ways to dictate that, right?
Yeah, so, and we'll get to that when we do the matchups between the Chiefs offense and the Eagles defense. So it's going to be very, very interesting. So definitely that. But let's get to the poll question because we're going to have Les Bowen. If you're watching, we're going to have Les Bowen coming on. He's in New Orleans, so he's gracious enough to take a few minutes to hop on with us, give us his perspective of what's going on down there, and it's going to be great. Mm-hmm. But I want to get to the poll question. Saquon Barkley and the Eagles rushing attack will continue to dominate against the Chiefs defense. Agree or disagree? You want to lead this off, or do you want me to jump it up?
I'll lead it off. So I disagree to the poll. I do think it's going to be tougher. What can change this? So this is just my gut feeling. Spags is going to sell all out to stop the run. They know they have to stop the run or contain the run to then have a chance. And what I think is going to have to happen is we're going to take the 3 or 4 yarders, 5 or 6 yarders, but then when Jalen sees something where we can take a hit and we hit the home and we have a chance to hit a home run, we got to hit it. We got to make them get out of that, right? So when we say dominate, I would say if Barkley has anything 140 and north of that, we win the game. If it's 140 south of that, there's a chance we can lose the game. There's a chance we're on the wrong end of it. We're on the wrong end. I have a hard time thinking to myself how they put up more than 28 against us.
Yeah, no, I agree with it. I agree with
that. And that's where I think that this can be easily agree with the fourth quarter drive, ball control to keep the ball out of their hands, because we had the offensive line. Listen, I don't think this. I'm gonna go on the record to say it. This offensive line is the best offensive line I've ever seen the Eagles have, and there's been some great lines. I think this offensive line is better than 57. I think this offensive line is better than 52. That's just the God's honest truth. And
I have to think about that. We'll come back to that
because let's go position by position. You go right tackle still the same.
The tackle's still the same.
Right guard was Brandon Brooks. Now you got Mekhi Becton.
Oh, that's an upgrade. That's an absolute upgrade with Brooks. Brooks was all world. Brooks was all world. Mekhi Becton is great at the run, but he's still suspect in the pass. So Brooks.
So yeah, you got Jason Kelce, a younger Jason Kelce versus Cam Jurgens. Listen, I've seen Cam Jurgens do shit that Kelce didn't do.
Oh, not yet. I don't want to go that far. Kelce in 2017. That was resurgent Kelce. That was
left guard was who was left guard?
Left guard was Wisniewski.
Okay, Stefan Wisniewski.
That's where I'll give the advantage to Dickerson.
Landon Dickerson. And then left tackle was in that game. We're talking about 50.
That was Big V. Yeah. So that's where that's the big one.
So left side is stronger, interior right guard slightly, but this is the way that they play in Stoutland and we talk about the marriage of what the identity of the team is.
Yes, that is the key.
So what they want to do and the talent that they have, this is the best I've ever seen. This is the best I've ever seen.
I hear you. I'll answer the poll question, then we'll get the less. But I do think I'm gonna disagree with you. I'm agreeing with the poll question. I think the Eagles rushing attack will still dominate. Now, when I say dominate, I there is a world where the Chiefs maybe in the first half limit explosive runs and will limit Saquon Barkley in the running attack. But I think inevitably they are going to break one, especially in the second half. They're going to break probably a couple. I'm looking at the Chiefs defense. Okay, the first thing I want to point out, the Chiefs run defense versus 11 personnel, they're 24th when it comes to yards per carry, 17th when it comes to EPA. Against 2+ tight end sets, they're 3rd in yards per carry, 7th in EPA. What does that tell me? Eagles, you got to keep running out of 11 personnel. Keep the heavy packages. Keep Calcaterra and EJ Jenkins. I know Jenkins probably wouldn't play because God is playing, but keep Calcaterra off. And that's what they've been doing. In the playoffs, they've been playing 81% of their snaps out of 11 personnel in the first 3 quarters. They got to keep doing that. Just play out of 11 because the Chiefs defensive backs, they're not good when coming up and playing run defense. That's not their strength. So you got to keep doing that. And I don't know how the Chiefs are going to be able to stop that. And you look at what the Chiefs defense, how they performed in the playoffs against Joe Mixon and James Cook and the Bills. Those 2 games, they I don't want to say they struggled severely, but those running backs got their own. They had good days. If they had good days, we've got us, Saquon, and our offensive line. It's hard to, even if Spags is going to sell out early to try to stop the run, I don't see how he's going to be able to do so for 4 quarters and be able to consistently stack the box with 8, because knowing that the defense, the passing attack of the Eagles, they're going to get theirs in the passing attack if he constantly does that. So he's going to have to let up a little bit. And those, I'm telling you, in the second half, I still think if the Eagles execute their game, they're going to still be able to break one off, or 2 or 3 or a few in the run game. So I definitely agree to the ball. I think this is one of the biggest advantages that the Eagles have on either side of the ball. I think they'll be able to run it. So that's what I hear. So I'm going to bring in Les though. Les, I love it.
Must say, Les got some views, man.
The lighting in this hotel room isn't wonderful, so I thought my necklace might help, help illuminate me a little better.
Well, it looks great. I love the shirt. You look like you're having fun. I saw you were at a media night.
Oh my God, that was horrible.
Oh,
that has gotten
really?
so much worse than it used to be. It used to be a day, and it used to be there was a lot of frivolity, but it was still, most of it was people asking questions and getting answers. Now they have fans. It's at the stadium, so it's in the Superdome. They have fans in the stands, and they're blasting music through the speakers so that the fans will think something really exciting is going on while these people sit there and answer questions. And then they broadcast some of the interviews over the PA system. So if you're interviewing somebody else, you're hearing that really loud. It's kind of a mess. Yeah. And there's a lot of us also. Hundreds and hundreds, which I can't really complain because, I'm here for PHLY, and
right.
PHLY isn't the New York Times when it comes to this stuff. So, they let me in, but they let everybody else in too. Gosh darn it.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, that's one of the first things I wanted to ask, because I know, and this isn't anything new. This has been going on now for years. But, the opening night for media night, and we've seen, pretty sure, some clips of it now, and the constant silly questions that we get from some people. So how was your experience on the floor last night and going around, and is it when you're obviously reputable, you've been doing this for so long, you've seen how things have changed since since early 2000s. How is the adjustment from someone like you having to go to experience something like that?
In the old days, it was a lot of times media people from other countries where they have different traditions, wearing silly costumes and asking kind of dumb questions because their country doesn't really play football or whatever. Now, the biggest problem I had last night are the players who have been credentialed as media and run around and just dominate, like Jameis Winston is working for Fox. Yeah. So he stands in front of Nick Sirianni and gives this 5-minute spiel that's supposed to be a question, but is actually aren't you, you have such a wonderful culture, coach, and you do this and you do that and blah, 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 blah. And nobody can get a word in edgewise. He's doing his bit, on camera.
Yeah.
With Nick Sirianni, and it's Ocho Cinco is there doing the same thing. And I was in credential line with Marcus Smith.
Oh my God, that's a name I haven't heard in.
Yes.
Who's he?
I didn't get the affiliation, but
he's not in the league no more. I don't think.
But yeah, it's so how this is. The media is now with all the athlete podcasts and all this stuff that they're kind of pushing us out a little bit. It's all this crazy, bombastic, spiels that they're recording. And I got the answer is I didn't spend 1 second with Jalen Hurts or anybody like that. I wanted to get Zach Bond, and I kind of did. I got him more today, and I wrote it for tonight. It's up on PHLY. And I wanted to talk to Howie, and I did.
Okay.
And Jeffrey Lurie. And, a lot of the crazy media people see you talking to some guy in a suit, and they don't know, that that's Jeffrey Lurie or Howie Roseman. So, that tends to be a little more.
Do you think it's easier access to them during something like
because there's no podium for Jeffrey Lurie with his name on it and microphones and cameras. He's just walking around. He's in a little area we can't get into, but if he walks over to the fence, you can,
Right.
Got it.
Like a petting zoo,
He's on display. I wonder how it must feel. We were sitting here talking about the players and the angst and the waiting game that they're playing. I wonder how that feels for an executive at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
I can't imagine. I just can't imagine what it would be like to have everything come down to this. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they're trying to enjoy it because we know that this doesn't. The Eagles went to one Super Bowl the first 38 years of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We know this doesn't, even though the Eagles have been to 2 out of 3 and the Chiefs have been to 5 out of 6, you can't count on this. You can't, we'll do this again next year. No, I mean, that's so, yeah, I think they're trying to have fun, but it's got to be continued. And just like today, what they do after Monday is you go to the team hotel and they have big ballrooms, and they have some podiums there for star players, and then they have a bunch of tables where there are other players, and there's guys from the practice squad. They're just sitting there reading their phones, because nobody's going to talk to them unless somebody from their hometown shows up, and wants to. But if you're, say, Zach Bond, who I went back to today after talking to him a little bit last night, so he played in New Orleans for 4 years. Well, every reporter in New Orleans is also here at this, obviously. It's probably pretty easy to get credentialed if you're from the home city. So they all want to ask him, about his leaving the Saints and the fact that they didn't turn him into an inside linebacker. And he's handling it very well, but Jesus Christ, I would just hand out a printed sheet, like the 12th guy,
Here are my answers to your question.
Yes.
Oh my God.
I guess you can. That's imaginable from you look at an organization that thought they had it, and the Saints are really in some financial hardship or just financial inflexibility.
And on the field, and I think the reporters see that his situation as sort of a microcosm of what's wrong with the Saints. Here they drafted this guy. They had him for 4 years, and they couldn't figure out what he was best at. Yeah. But he said something really interesting about that. His feeling is that even if he had been converted, he didn't feel like he had the maturity and the mental makeup to really getting to the Eagles with their culture and their coaching and their players. He kind of, it was a reset for him that he kind of needed, that it wasn't just a matter of, this guy's an inside linebacker.
Right. It was bigger than just a position.
Yeah. And I had thought, I didn't know. I knew that they used him mainly as an edge rusher and mostly as a special teams guy. But I was talking to a New Orleans reporter today, Mike Triplett, and he was saying that from the day of the draft, they talked about him playing inside linebacker. But his first few years, they had really good inside linebackers.
They had Mario Davis.
Yeah, so they didn't do it. And then it just became kind of one of those things that just didn't ever happen, like Lane Johnson playing left tackle. The Eagles drafted Lane Johnson to take over for Jason Peters in a few years. And that never came to fruition.
I hear you.
So it wasn't really, I think Zach's point is that it wasn't really anybody's fault necessarily that they didn't do this, but it stands out in stark relief to the people in New Orleans whose team has gone, down the toilet that this happened.
Right. It just seems like such a trend now over, I want to say like roughly a decade where, because it's not just Zach Bond. I mean, Chauncey has come here as a castaway from New Orleans, and he loves it here. He's found a home. But the big comparison, we all remember Malcolm Jenkins. Yeah, he was drafted as a corner. And Sproles, Jenkins was drafted as a corner there, went to safety. Yeah. When he hit free agency, he wasn't a big name. It wasn't until he got to Philly and they used him a certain way, and then he stepped up and really flourished. It's so odd that as someone who hates the Saints, I revel in it. We
do business with them. We make out good.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The funny thing about Malcolm and Darren was that was the one thing Chip Kelly actually got right.
Yep.
If you remember, the Saints beat the Eagles in a playoff game, I guess Chip's first year. And Chip saw that these guys were becoming free agents, and he was like, these guys are good.
I think Chip has found his way back into the league, though. I like the latest platform. So, question for you: at 57 and now 59, is the temperament. I got the feeling just from watching it yesterday when they did the whole captains thing and they had the players interacting together, Chris Jones, Darius Slay, Jalen and Patrick Mahomes and all that. But then when the Chiefs went out first, and then even in that interaction, I feel like the Chiefs they should be. They won back-to-back, they're laid back. But I feel like I'm getting the sense from the Eagles that this is a mission. They're enjoying themselves, but they know what they have to do. Like, this is more business than what they're not getting all caught up in the glitz and the glamour. And I meant to say this earlier. I'm glad Les is on now, and I thought about it. I feel like Howie drafting Georgia players, Alabama players, who, yes, while they're young, they are used to playing in big spots like this.
That's a good point.
Not too big. And even for Reed and Chauncey, younger, but they were here 2 years ago, so they know what this experience is. So maybe Quinyon and Cooper, maybe a little bit, but there's enough of a bubble around them that I think they'll be fine.
That's a good point. And I tell you, there's another factor there that they don't really talk about. But this, again, I spent most of my time with Zach Bond, so I keep coming back to Zach Bond. He talked about how when he came to the Eagles, he hadn't been a part of that meltdown, obviously, last season. In the last season being 2023,
right?
Yeah.
But he got a sense that people were really. I wrote it down. What did he say? It was like heartbreaking, or that people were really affected by it and really motivated by what happened last season. And some of these people had been in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, and they've been here, they've been to the Super Bowl, and they've also seen what happens when things go awry, and I think they really treasure this opportunity, I guess is what I'm trying to say. That there's a lot of guys on this team that are very invested in this moment, and they don't take it for granted, and they don't, they're not here to, like you said, not here to have a good time or soak up the atmosphere so much. Saquon
even hinted at it. He was asked about, how he feels being here, and he's talked. I know Peter Schrager talked about it when he interviewed Saquon, and Saquon's like, "I'm here for one thing. I'm not caught up in being here. I'm caught up in, hey, we're focused on winning winning it all." And even AJ Brown, who was here obviously 2 years ago, he got a text from Fletcher Cox. He mentioned it on the podium that Fletch texted him, said, "You're none of anything that you did, nothing you guys did this season means anything if you don't win this game." Yep, so I agree with both of you. I think you get, and I don't
agree with Fletch on that, by the way. I do think it matters, but obviously it'll be a bitter pill if they lose the game. But I think that's a little overstated. But but that quote was, I finally found it. I could feel the heartbreak. This was a team on a mission. Yeah. No, that was pretty. Hadn't heard anybody say that.
Yeah, and Saquon echoed those sentiments. He was asked similar about that, and he had said he wasn't here last year, but he knew, like, being around these guys, what last year's collapse meant and how it affected them. So, Bond and Saquon being new additions here, you can only imagine how the rest of the newcomers feel. So, like, I love that they're here and focused, and they're just like, they're cute Alshon Jeffrey when he was on Radio Row saying this is all just when he had his famous quotes when he was being interviewed, that they just want to play the game. And I had said you weren't here last opening the show, I'm like, as a fan, the anticipation kills me. I just want to get to the game. I just want to get to the game.
Because on the other hand, you worked so hard to get to this point.
Right.
It's nice to have a little bit of a breather, that you're not immediately looking, okay, 6 more days, we've got to,
right.
It is nice that they have that little time to savor the moment.
Yeah.
The fact that you got here, even if you're not satisfied, even if you don't, let your hair down, it's good to just kind of get injured guys some healing time and, just reset a little bit.
Get a little fresher. And like to think about what we were saying about Zach Bonfield, like you could kind of sense like this was a bad breakup. And like I think for our rookies, for Jalen Carter, for Noah Smith to go through that, and like we talk about the rookie wall, like they already had adversity, right? Like Jalen Carter had adversity last year, kind of the conditioning portion of it. Nolan didn't pop off the way he wanted to pop off. But I think the biggest thing we can see out of the words, and you've been around the team, if I can put up what this season thus far has meant, I would put up the clip from Chauncey at the NFC Championship game where Nick is just coming to him, checking on him, and then Chauncey just breaks down. Chauncey never wanted to leave. And I think even so, there's lessons that have been learned from 2 years ago and last year. And that just doesn't just doesn't stem from the players. That stems from Howie. Yeah. Howie as well has shown that he has shown maturation because he made the wrong choice and letting Chauncey go and choosing Bradbury. And kudos to Bradbury. He has not been an issue at all year. Hats off to him. I've heard he's been helping. Like they all kind of know what this means, right? And we kind of heard Kenny Pickett say, he's like, I've never been inside a locker room. This locker room in the pros feels like a college locker room, right? Yeah. But you see Chauncey break down where he's like, I was here. You traded for me. You sent me. I had a good season in Detroit. I could have stayed there. You wanted me back. This is where I want to be. And then all that emotion. I don't. My gut is telling me we win comfortably Sunday. That's what my gut is telling me.
Wouldn't that be amazing? I mean, that's never happened, in the Super Bowl. For the
because I want Les to answer the poll question, but this is my thing. When we really get into it in the next couple of segments, is if you look at the Texans and the Bills. Have the Chiefs won the game and taken it from the other team, or have the teams just made mistakes? Because the line just moved. The line opened up at a point and a half. It is now a half point.
Half point, yeah.
That is telling you, like, hey, listen, if the Chiefs don't get extra possessions and the Eagles do, you know what I mean?
Well, I like your poll question because, and I do agree with it. And here's why. I'm not an X and O guy, as I've said many, many times, but everybody here is talking about Spags blitz packages and how he can bring pressure in different ways that you don't expect and disguise the coverages behind it.
Yeah.
Which is the kind of thing Jalen Hurts has struggled with. Don't play into that. I don't think there's a lot Spags can do about running the ball. There are a few maybe ways to disguise.
Definitely have 11 personnel.
They'll figure that out in like 2 series. It's not that complex. Running the ball is about physical domination usually, and there's no way to pretty up the fact that you don't have the guys, that can do that. So I would say that's that's a sure way of controlling this game. More than having Jalen, suddenly become really good at figuring out that, the corner's not really blitzing. It's this guy over here. I doubt that's really going to happen, at this point right now. So, take that a little bit out of his hands for this particular game is what I think.
That's a great point because, you have – that is one of my keys, and I'm going to get into it when we do the segments. But I had mentioned it since last week. The first thing that should be a priority for this Eagles offense and its coaching staff, Kellen Moore, to figure out and hammer down is the pass protection stuff and the answers to all those blitz looks and the simulated pressure. So what's one of the ways you do that? Just run. I mean, like, if I wouldn't be surprised if, and we've seen it again. We saw it, especially I think early against the Rams, right? We're in 3rd and mid. I think it was like 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. Sorry if I don't remember what it was. We scored a touchdown off of that because we know we can. Like, we know we have an explosive plays out of the run game. So if you're the Eagles and you know that Spags is the only way, and I was going to touch on this, but I'll bring it up now. The Chiefs' defense isn't that great as is. They are surviving because they blitz so well.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you know that, if you know the Chiefs have to blitz to survive, why not run against those looks?
Take that tool away from them. Yeah,
exactly.
You know, and if you see, like I said, I don't do X and O's, but I watch a lot of that stuff. And what you see over and over again, it's not just when you think of teams not handling the blitz, you think of like, okay, the running back missed his block or something, or he got run over. With the Chiefs, it's never like that. It's always they tricked people into going over here, and a guy came from over here, and there wasn't anybody there to block him. You know, it's not people missing blocks or being dominated by the guy that they're trying to block. It's, oops, we thought we were looking at this, and instead we were looking at that.
It's sleight of hand.
Yeah.
It's sleight of hand.
The blitzing team. It's not about, and Les, we talked about this on Eagles Talk last week. I had said that the issue with fans and with teams that try to blitz a lot, thinking that's a cure-all for everything, is when it becomes predictable, you get beat. You are a good blitzing team if you know the timing and how to disguise it. That's what makes guys like Spags and who's the guy in Minnesota? Pete.
Flores.
Flores. That's what makes them so good, is because they know how to disguise that stuff. So absolutely great point, because Spag, it's not that last week I was with Shane and Marcus Thomas. We were breaking down that 4th and 5 play against the Bills that practically decided the game, right? And
so you're talking about, so that's a split blitz. So if you're going to look whatever gap, if that corner doesn't come to that gap, the safety's coming. That's
what I'm saying. But like the reason why that worked is because Josh Allen didn't anticipate it. And Les, to your point, what did they do? They had Chris Jones on one side. So if you have Chris Jones to one side, as a quarterback, what is your first thing that you're going to think? You're going to slide protection to for Chris Jones. But then you're going to have an unbalance. You're going to have on the other side, that's where the people are coming. Stuff like that is a prime example of what Spags is going to do. So as an Eagles offense, you have to button that down, because what they did against the Commanders isn't going to work. You're not going to, that was bad against the Commanders. You have to get that stuff sorted out.
Where they were going on 2 and leaving that free rushing.
It's not, but that's just not the only thing. It's not about setting protections. Right. It's about what are your answers? What are your hot reads? What are you calling in those plays to counteract those looks? So,
and one thing I'll say there that Chuck, you brought up before I came on about, when you were comparing O-lines and Becton versus Brooks, Becton, because he's never played guard before, he's doing a wonderful job. It's a great story, but it's things like that he sometimes, and it only has to happen a couple times a game, where he just doesn't quite get. Being inside is so different from being on an island at tackle, and he sometimes misses those.
And that's where I think that not just as the hot reads, but this is where Kellen and they need to be in Jalen's ear, like, all right, boom, 2 seconds out, get the ball out. We've been hearing it with Patrick Mahomes. Okay, they went from 3 years ago not having a short passing game. Now they have one of the best short passing games in the league. That could help them against us. That's i.e. what they think that the Chiefs are going to do. The way to beat us on our defense is what the Commanders did the whole first drive of the conference championship game. It's going to be. See, the thing is, when you do that, if you don't score 6, and then we score 6, and I'll trade field goals to touchdowns with you all day.
Yeah, that would be ideal if it went like it went in the Commanders, where they had the 18-play drive, kick a field goal, and the Eagles ran for a touchdown on the first.
And we all know that Reed is not going to go for it on 4th and 5. He's not, even if he has the best player in the game, he's not doing that, right? So that's kind of Dan Quinn had to rest on that, because it's like, listen, what else can I do? You know what I mean? I have to go for it. So you just need 1 or 2 extra possessions, and those extra possessions that you win, they may score, but you score more than them. You get in the end zone. I have a very hard time thinking of any scenario to where they just straight up beat us and we don't beat ourselves. Like what I said to the conversation game.
Yeah.
If we play clean, I don't see it. I don't from an XO standpoint, from a personnel standpoint, because listen, at some point, our alphas are going to make alpha plays. It's going to happen. And when it happens, we just need to capitalize on it. And I'm anxious, man. I wish the game was tomorrow. I really do.
I want it here. Yeah.
I wish the game was tomorrow. So Les, so now at this point, is this every day now? Like, so every day is
tomorrow and
Thursday.
Thursday. Well, tomorrow and Thursday they have the hotel ballroom thing, and then there's nothing Friday. It used to be they had the head coaches Friday to kind of sum up the week, which was useful, but there's nothing Friday, nothing Saturday for the media. Okay. And I'm going home Friday because I don't have a game credential. Those are very limited because there's limited space. But it's Wednesday and Thursday is more, everybody crowding around these guys, and you just kind of have to. If you're a player, I think. Somebody said a long time ago, the way to approach the Super Bowl, everybody says it now, is to get all the work done the first week and just fine tune the second week. Because you really have, a lot of, there's not just us. Yeah. There's all these promotional things going on. And I used to have to, when McNabb was with the Eagles and the Eagles weren't in the Super Bowl, I would always have to find Donovan on Super Bowl week because Campbell's Chunky Soup would have him. One time he was driving a chuck wagon with his mom, there's just all that falderall going on all over the place. Former players are here that want to get together with you. It's wild. And it's New Orleans too. I mean, it's not like
Oh man, beignets, oh boys.
How is it so compared to? I know I mentioned with the first question that the adjustment period, but like the spectacle of it all now compared to what 25 years ago. Has it really been like? I think we all know the answer, but how much of a bigger spectacle is it now compared to back then?
It's exponentially bigger. I hadn't been since Minnesota, so it has changed a good bit. Since it was huge then.
Oh wow! So even then, it's still.
But before I started covering it, like you see, like obviously Super Bowl III is iconic. The Jets and the Colts. There's a famous photo of Joe Namath in a chaise lounge at a pool, I guess at their hotel. And there's like a half dozen guys around him, with notepads. And that was the media corps that was covering like Super Bowl III, Wow. One guy has his, I guess they're in Miami. Where was Super Bowl III? Miami.
I can find out.
Wherever they were, one guy has like his notebook. He's bald and he has his notebook on top of his head to keep his head from getting sunburned. And he's sitting there. But yeah, every decade, when the Eagles went 2005, 20 years ago, they had availability on Sunday when they got in. They no longer do that. And I always remember that. There's one thing, I don't remember anything anybody said that day. I just remember Freddie Mitchell was pissed because he thought he deserved a podium. They had podium for Tio, podium for Donovan, podium for Trotter, for Dawkins. Where's Freddie Mitchell's podium?
Oh my God!
It was in Orange Bowl. It was in Miami, Florida, Super Bowl III.
Yeah. So they were sitting by the pool with Joe Namath in the middle of the week.
That's so funny. Have you been able to mingle with any other Philly media that you're close to?
Yeah, that's been a real good thing to see people because I'm not down at NovaCare, and I don't see these guys, and the media corps changes. I mean, not everybody that I worked with is still around, but a lot of people are. I've talked to Jimmy Kempsky and Jeff McClain and Marcus Hayes. I was with Marcus tonight at the media party. and guys and people, not just guys, but people from other cities too.
Yeah,
And, and the Chiefs organization, I counted up a dozen people affiliated with the Chiefs who either worked for the Eagles in the Andy era,
Really?
or are from our area.
Oh,
so
wow.
that would include strength and conditioning assistant coach Spencer Reed, and scout Juan Castillo's son, the guy who was a corner at Iowa.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, he played at St. Joe's Prep. I'm sorry, I can't remember his first name because I'm senile. But, Mark Donovan, the team president, worked for the Eagles on the business side. There's a guy named Rob Alberino who was like the scoreboard guy and did a lot of production stuff for the Eagles, who now does that for the Chiefs. I mean, it's literally a dozen people. And there's probably more. There's the ones I know about. There might be some scout that I forgot, that ever worked for the Eagles. But it's so Tom Melvin, has coached with Andy Reid. If you could ever really get Tom to talk about Andy, that'd be. Tom Melvin was a player at San Francisco State when Andy was the graduate assistant. And then he became a graduate assistant as Andy kind of moved up a little bit there. Then they both went to Northern Arizona together in the 80s. And then Andy hired Tom in 99 when he came to the Eagles. And he's been with Andy ever since.
Oh, wow.
Probably the only person who spent more time with Andy is his wife, Tammy. I mean, Tom Melvin, I talked to Tom last night, and he doesn't really, he kind of gives you the usual. I asked him if Andy was going to retire, and he said he's having too much fun, But it's so interesting that these two Super Bowls in 3 years have come against Andy and the Chiefs.
Yeah.
It's just so weird.
I feel like
all
the
gin joints in the world,
If it was any other team from the AFC, I feel like we'd be 7 to 10 point favorites.
Oh God, yes.
God,
yeah.
But
it's the Chiefs.
It is the Chiefs.
Oh my gosh. Well, do you have any more questions?
So what are they actually? So there's no practices. It's just, I guess, Friday's a light practice day, Saturday's a walkthrough, or not even that?
I believe so. Yeah, walkthrough Saturday. Yeah, the Eagles are at the Saints practice facility, which is another thing for Zach Bond. The whole week is like, the equipment guys, the Saints equipment guys are helping them out, and trainers and stuff. All of the Eagles people are there too, but it's their facilities, so they're, it's got to be really odd for him. In a lot of ways.
I mean, in a week like this, in a matchup like this, you need as many leg ups as you can have.
Yeah,
like just anything that can help ease the pressure off of like having to do something, and you can just really focus and put your detail and attention to it into the game plan and what's going to work for you.
Or if you're the Patriots and you can say, film the other team's practice,
I can't. I'm still bitter about that. So
now they don't even practice on the. Do they still practice at the site at some point? I would say Saturdays. Is that the walkthrough?
I don't know that. I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't think they do practice at the site.
Okay.
I believe the Chiefs are at Tulane and the Eagles are at the Saints practice facility, which is in Metairie, I guess, or whatever, however you pronounce it.
Metairie.
Yeah, the Eagles are the home team.
The home team, so they get the okay.
Yeah.
They will have the green jerseys, which is good.
A white jersey curse.
Yeah, the Eagles won the Super Bowl in the green jerseys, so I think that's a good way to go.
Yeah, I would prefer the green jerseys, please.
I think if they win this one, this will finally put the rest. What color is better?
Yeah.
Finally. No, it won't. Those fans like it. I think you can already argue that us winning the first Super Bowl in those colors should have done that. Right. I think you're still going to always have the fanatics over the Kelly.
Yeah, you are. It really goes deep. But I thought you were going to say that the one thing I've been working on this week that I don't know if I'll be able to write it. I asked Howie, if they win another Super Bowl, Howie becomes beloved, I think, even if, regardless of what happens next. And I said, if you become beloved in Philadelphia, are you going to be able to stand it? And he just rejected the whole premise because he's like a player. He needs to feel disrespected in order.
He needs that edge. He needs that edge.
So he just won't. His attitude is, if I have a bad draft or if we have a bad year, it'll be right back to where we were before. But it really, listen, at some point it isn't. I mean, Bill Belichick could have 2 or 3 bad seasons with the Patriots before people started getting impatient.
Yeah.
If you win another Super Bowl, I think that buys you some cred,
Absolutely does. I mean, that's one of the things I love about Howie, though, is that he takes that stuff and he learns from it. I think one of the when before the 2017 season, when he came back initially after the Chip Kelly era, like that turnaround was quick, right? That was a quick turnaround, and no one saw it, and that was the birth of Howie Hero. When the 2020 stuff happened with Wentz, that was another period where everyone was putting everything in doubt, right? Even myself, I was like, I don't know how we're going to get out of this.
Yeah, but that's one of my favorite subjects. I really thought, we all know how close Howie is to Jeff Lurie.
Yes.
But at the end of the 2020 season, when they ended up having to trade Carson Wentz, who was the centerpiece of their rebuild,
just got a contract too.
Coming off a 4-11-1 season, I thought, boy, the defense was old at that point. I thought, how is he going to get out? This could really, if this doesn't go right, he's done. Jeffrey will move on, as he proved with Joe Banner. And to get out of that the way he did, and to have the drafts that he has had the last 3 or 4 years after, it was remarkable. For half a dozen years, the Eagles didn't really have. If you discount Wentz, their first round picks were horrible.
This is almost getting back to like, you can kind of envision our early 2000s run.
Yeah.
Because they
started. They're going to be good every year. Yeah.
Right. Because they have the homegrown players.
Yes.
You have the quarterback. You have the coach.
Yes.
You're going to have to change some things. They're going to lose some guys in free agency, by the way. I think. I know for a fact that they're they're looking at compensatory picks.
Yeah.
And it can't be Bond. They've got to figure out.
I feel like Williams is gone.
Becton, Williams.
I think Becton, Williams, Sweat. I think all 3 of them are gone.
Yeah.
I think all 3 of them are gone.
That's all right. We can. I love Josh Sweat all day. Go ahead and give me Kenny Pickett and 2 firsts for Myles Garrett. I'll be all right. I'll be all right.
That'll be another conversation for another episode.
That would be. I'm sorry we don't have time to discuss the whole, because Myles Garrett, the scenario that I think a lot of people like with that is, so Howie's not going to bid against 15 teams. Like, okay, I'll throw in this and that. He doesn't do that. But Myles Garrett is kind of driving this, and he wants to go somewhere where he can win.
Yep.
Yes.
And this is something Zach Berman kind of explained to me, and I hadn't thought it through that much. There's not going to be 15 teams. It might be like 4 teams that you're talking to, and that would increase the odds of the Eagles doing it quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had mentioned it earlier on Twitter. I was like, I would do it, even if it was like, I know the obvious thing, because this doesn't usually happen with NFL trades, but like everyone's talking about like, oh, if they ask for Nolan Smith, no way I'm going to trade for Myles Garrett. Like, I love Nolan Smith. We're talking about Myles Garrett here, guys.
Yes.
Please, seriously, like, if this was a straight up trade, and again, this is not going to happen. I'm just saying, straight up, if they said, okay, Myles Garrett for Nolan Smith, I'm doing it in a heartbeat.
Of course.
There's only one player I've not traded him for on the defensive side. We all know who that is.
Oh yeah, we all know it's Jalen Carter.
Jalen Carter.
Yeah, that's
another reason why I say it, because like everyone's bringing up the age, like Nolan Smith is young rookie contract, and Myles Garrett's already 29. Guys, we're in a win now mode right?
Yeah, and Miles
Saquon is
Garrett
in
is
his
better.
prime.
I'm sorry, Nolan Smith might be a good player as he develops. He's not
Yeah.
going to be as good as Miles
It's not,
Garrett.
there's hardly anyone that is. Like, that's the thing. Like, we're in win now mode. Saquon is in his prime and probably will be for what, 2, maybe 3 more years. Jalen Hurts' contract is still cheap for the next couple of years. Like, you are trying to win now.
Right.
Even regardless of what happens on this Sunday, you still have a window for the next couple of years.
Yes, you do.
Trading
And
for
you're going
Miles
to need it
Garrett.
because Washington is going to push you. Washington's going to push you to stay relevant.
Yep,
Yes,
that's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's another possible destination, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's Washington.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like,
And that's something you want to guard against, too. You don't want Miles Garrett on the Commanders.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it more in the offseason, but, yeah, Miles Garrett is a name absolutely I would go for, if possible. I don't know how realistic it is, but yeah, it's I think just circling back, I think that with Howie, the turnaround he had after 2020 is what has given me. I will now have my trust in him. No matter what.
Yes.
Like
This is proving it.
He's proven it because this is what I say. Like, I don't like. There's no perfect GM in the league. Everyone is going to have misses and mistakes and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a GM who learns from their mistakes, and give me a GM who has the open-mindedness to zag when everyone is zigging. Right, and that's Howie. Like, he's going to have his misses. Like, guys, we don't talk about Bryce Huff. Talk about that was a myth. But like, who cares? We don't care that Bryce Huff was a miss because he's done so well at other places. And like, he's earned the benefit of the doubt. He's earned my trust. This is we'll have conversations in the next coming weeks depending on what happens in the Super Bowl. But like, you could argue stuff. You could definitely argue this might be the best single season, like off season, that a GM in the NFL has had in history. Like, if
you
ends
could.
well.
I understand. Yeah, you could. Yeah.
So, Pete, anything else from you?
Real quick. So, I would say, just to kind of piggyback off of what you said about Howie, if you look at where he was at in 2020, and by this time he already had a Super Bowl, but we kind of felt like that was lightning in the bottle, right? And then 2020, okay, he went through a coaching hire, losing a franchise quarterback, hiring a no-name guy that we haven't seen before, get into a Super Bowl, team still somewhat good, have a 2023 draft, not pan out, crash everything. So to have 2 Super Bowls in 3 years with some of the same guys and then the guys that you drafted to kind of hit what you thought they were going to be this fast, this is the best piece of work he's ever done.
And in this instance, that it's Howie. Before, when they had success, there were people who would say, well, Joe Douglas or Andy Weidel. There really isn't a figure like that on the
they're both unemployed.
Now. These are Howie's people. These are Howie's picks. And
then you look at Andrew Berry, he's a GM doing well in Cleveland. Yeah. So there's Howie's starting to get his own tree somewhat. You know what I mean? To a point.
Yeah.
But no one's him. I mean, I can't believe I just said that, but no one is him right now. And I trust him 100% unequivocally, man. It's this draft, like, to hit on this many picks, because the draft was his Achilles heel.
I don't think there was a miss, guys. This past draft, I don't think there was a miss. It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's going to suck to say bye to Milton Williams and Josh Sweat, but you have confidence that they can kind of fill that back up.
Yeah.
You know
Absolutely.
What I mean?
Absolutely. Les, thank you so much.
My batteries are running low here. I have to go.
I'd imagine your own battery is running low as well. For the day you had, like, you got action packed next few days. So
actually having to work 2 days in a row. Good Lord, what is
crazy? Oh my God, we were tired. Stay away.
You forgot what it felt like. That's all right.
Oh my God, Les, I can't say thank you enough for taking the time.
Thanks to you guys. This is fun.
We appreciate it. Yeah, and I'll text you. And I'll see how things go next few days, and then hopefully next time we see you, we will be celebrating a second Super Bowl for the.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
It would be
Yes.
amazing.
I can feel it.
All right, Les. You have a good night. Get some rest and be safe. Safe travels, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks,
talk
guys.
to you soon, Les. Thank you.
See you, Les. The one and only Les Bowen. He is such a great addition to the family, and always great with what he is. It was supposed to be like a 15 to 30-minute segment. He was in us for 40-something minutes.
Can't do that when we start talking, dude.
Yeah, when we start talking, and especially with him, he says provides so much good info. So awesome by him. So with that being extended, let's abbreviate this and make this pretty quick because I know that we're up against time here. Mm-hmm. We kind of actually, the good thing is we kind of inorganically, organically, I don't know technically how you say it, but
I would say organically.
Organically, we answered the matchup of Eagles offense versus Chiefs defense with Les. So we'll move on. Let's talk about now Eagles defense versus Chiefs offense. And Pete, something you mentioned how you were going to wonder how the Chiefs are going to approach their offensive line, right?
Yeah.
So you've got right now as currently constructed, Joe Thuney was moved out to left tackle. You got Mike Caliendo at left guard. You got Creed Humphrey at center, Trey Smith at right guard, and then Juwan Taylor at right tackle. So the strength of that O-line, you could say, is the right side, specifically center and right guard. Those are standout guys. Joe Thuney is good. Like, he's good overall. Like, left tackle is not his natural spot, but he's making it work. So you think that – do you think that Fangio moves Jalen Carter to that side where Caliendo is?
Because he lines up on the right side, and Trey Smith is one of the top right tackles, top right guards in the league. I definitely think and I think it would catch Andy and Nagy off guard because on tape all year we haven't had to do that. But there has been times where he's actually lining Carter up on the end. I can see that as well, and lining him up over Juwan Taylor. Yeah. That's why I'm saying, like, it's weird because for Pat, if I'm Andy, it's just like Brady. The pressure up the middle is what causes the most problem.
Yeah. Yep.
So if you now Thuney, Humphrey, Smith, I may take but at this point, I don't think they're going to move Thuney back inside.
I don't think so either.
So I definitely think you can see it because you got to pull out all the tricks. You got to pull out the things they're not going to see. There is no tomorrow. There is no next week. This is the final game of the season. And it'll be to their advantage because even if they don't do it, I still think that we can win our one-on-one matchups on the outside.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think so too. I think you can maybe use it you can shift them over to where Caliendo is maybe for a couple plays. But I think primarily, and I think this is the right move, to still have him over Trey Smith.
Because what he does makes it easier for everybody else.
And the thing is, it would be one thing if we didn't have good defensive interior play from everyone else outside Jalen Clark. That's not the case. Nolan Williams is balling.
Yep.
Moro Jomo is balling. Jordan Davis, for the limited snaps he does play, he's been balling. So they're going to eat. So keep Jalen Carter. And if Jalen Carter, and I'm not going to say if, Jalen Carter is still going to get his wins even against Trey Smith. Yep. So let that happen. Let everyone.
And I'm almost to the point where I feel like what Jordan Davis' responsibility has been is run to kind of maintain. Like, listen, he showed you in the conference championship game. If he's given the opportunity to go pressure the quarterback, he can do it. Like, I'm almost a couple plays. If Vic, once he calls it and Zach calls a play, I want Jordan's responsibility and Jalen's responsibility. Go get quarterback and let's see what happens. You know what I mean? Let's see what happens. Like, don't get me wrong, Jalen Carter's stupid strong, stupid talented. Jordan Davis may not be that far off, but his responsibilities and his role in the defense are different. What he's asked to do,
different, yeah. They're different. I think that transitioning. You bring up go after it. So Mina Kimes, and I'm sure you saw this. This is a great thing pointed out by Mina Kimes. Eagles defense is the only defense in the NFL that created negative EPA per play when they didn't get pressure.
Yep.
That is amazing work by the coverage. That is impressive. That is so impressive. This is why, and I'm going to say this, Vic, if you can hear me somehow, okay, if you can hear my prayers, even if it's just a whisper in the wind, I'm begging you, please do not blitz.
Oh yeah, do not blitz.
Please do not blitz. You can blitz on certain situations.
Right.
That's fine. You have to be able to
down to distance situations.
Yeah, certain ones go ahead blitz. But like in terms of just your base game plan, overall, do not blitz, please. I told you during the Commanders game, right? They were starting to blitz, and we were all talking what's going on. I'm like, he needs to stop blitzing. Like, stop blitzing, blitz coverage. And this is exactly what I think he has to do. Like, stop blitzing. And my friend on Twitter, Eagles Eric, made a great point. Is our rush lane integrity, how we played overall, we played well against Jane Daniels. That's going to be another critical point against Patrick Mahomes, because on those third downs, that's what Mahomes likes to do. He likes to pick up with his legs. Obviously sacks are great. If you can get a sack, get it. But
I just want to get him the punt.
Its priority is staying in your rush lane and making him feel pressure by staying in the pocket and not getting outside the pocket, because our coverage guys can cover and we can take away stuff. And if you do that, you can get pressure, collapse the pocket with 4 while keeping him in there and play coverage on the back end. There's nothing the Chiefs can do. There's nothing they'll be able to do against that. So I think that is the game. I think that should be the game plan overall, from a macro point of view for this Eagles defense. I just don't blitz. Just play coverage, collapse the pocket. You will have success against this Chiefs offense, because they don't get explosives, guys. Like we've seen them. Mm-hmm. This is their offense. It's a methodical offense. They pick up positive yards, and when they're in third and manageable, they pick up third and manageable. They are the best third down team in the league, and one of the best red zone teams in the league. Mm-hmm. If you can get them out of third and manageable, you have a leg up on them. But that's the key. You have to be able to make sure they don't kill you that way.
Right.
So I think that's how the defense should approach it.
I agree. I mean, I'm slightly concerned about some formations where we can see Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy and in a bunch set that, and then kind of catch a bomb. But the thing is, I don't think play action is going to work because they don't run the ball effectively as it is. And I'm not really. I think that we will be able to shore that up. Need another great game out of Oren Burks to continue to play like he's playing. Once again, I don't know what they can do to do that. And with Fangio having the knowledge, I mean, not only the knowledge of playing against Andy Reid when he was the head coach of the Broncos, but also knowing that. But then you encompass that when Nagy was the coach of the Bears, you were the DC. Like, to that familiarity, and I mean, truth be told, this is if you're talking about Fangio trying to cook the perfect meal, like he talked about the video that we shared, he has a great meatballs, and he has a recipe. He said, if I tell you the recipe, I got to kill you. Well, a deal with those with the ingredients he has to make these meatballs on Sunday is the best set of ingredients he's ever had at his disposal as a collective unit. So let's just go out there and see it. But I mean, I know we want to get into three-step drop with the X factors. I would say for me, Kansas City Chiefs, Xavier Worthy. I would say Chiefs offensive line, and I would probably say how, like, somebody like that. They need to have a wide. In order for them to win the game, they need to have a wide receiver that's going to have to do something they haven't done all year.
Probably Worthy is the only guy.
Outside of Worthy himself, like somebody else, Juju, Hopkins, or Hollywood Brown's going to have to step up as well. Mm-hmm. For them, for the Eagles, Saquon, Jalen Carter, Zach Bond.
Okay.
Big.
I'm approaching it a little different. For the Eagles, to me, those are obvious names. They're going to have to make their impact known, but I think what can sway it, I've got these three people. I've got Mekhi Becton versus Chris Jones, right? So Mekhi Becton, he's going to be lined up against Chris Jones a lot. He's got to hold up. I mentioned it earlier, how he can be a little suspect in pass protection still. That's going to be so critical. If he's
you know how many sacks Chris Jones has in Super Bowls?
None.
But that's it's not just him. Like I feel like
I know.
I feel like Spags almost at this point just uses him as a distraction.
Well, he can do that. That's the thing. Like he's so good, he can do that, and that's what's scary. Like you have to still make him. Mekhi's going to have the game of his life if he wants to get paid. Have the game of your life, young boy. Have the game of your life. The second one is, and I hinted at it earlier too, is Martin Williams. I think with him being lined up against Caliendo, he's got to take advantage of that matchup. Win. You want to get paid too, like Mekhi? Win. Have the game of your life here. And then third one, it's tough because I think that it's going to be a group effort of different things in order to cover Travis Kelce. But I think that ultimately the one key guy is Cooper DeJean. Also because of his run.
You didn't put Cooper on him instead of Chauncey?
I think it's a mix. I think it's going to be a mix. I think it's not going to be exclusively one or the other. But the reason why DeJean makes my third X factor is because his ability to defend the run is going to be key too. Because the Chiefs are going to want to run out of heavy personnel. They're going to put Travis Kelce and Noah Gray out there. Cooper DeJean has to be able to fill that run, and he has. That's a good thing. He's so good against the run, but it's going to be so important for him to be able to defend the run against heavy packages and then also contribute in defending Travis Kelce or Noah Gray, whoever is they have it, because Noah Gray has been a red zone killer. So Cooper DeJean's going to have his role is going to be very, very important too. So those three: Mekhi Becton, Will Williams, Cooper DeJean. So oh my God, praying. No huddle. Anything last points that you've got?
Now, I would say if you watch this, you listen to this, have faith. It's a great ride. We didn't think we would be here after 2 years. Now we're here, and we feel like, I think collectively as a fan base, we feel like we're owed this one. We deserve this one. We're the better team, and now we just can't make any mistakes. And we made one mistake 2 years ago. You take that mistake away, we win. And I mean, it's just if they play, if both teams play their A game, we win by 7 to 10 points.
I hope so. I can't send another close game. I can't do it. So yeah, I think I had this conversation with you. Like I've been undecided on where I'm going to watch the Super Bowl.
Where'd you watch the conference championship game?
Yeah, that too. I think that it got me thinking again of this whole who should you watch a Super Bowl with? Are you the person to go to Super Bowl parties? You watch it. I want to say that especially now, even more so now, because when I was younger, I've been to my fair share of Super Bowl parties. I've watched Super Bowls by myself. I just can't stand the thought of watching a Super Bowl at a Super Bowl party with a ton of people that don't care about the game. I can't do it.
Yep.
Especially
when your team is in it.
I can't do it. Especially if your team is in it. Even one of the ones I went to or I watched, one of the Super Bowl parties I went to, I was the Super Bowl with the Ravens and the Niners.
It's so funny you say that. That was the last Super Bowl in New Orleans.
Oh shoot! Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went there and I was the only one focusing on the game, and in my head I was like, "This is annoying. I just want to watch the game." So I can't do it. I can't be with people who don't care about the game. I'm way too much of a football fan and football diehard to not be surrounded by people who are invested in the actual game. So to all those who are with me, heart goes out to you. I hope you find a great place to watch a game at, whether it's with a handful of people who want the Eagles to win, or if you're a Chiefs fan too and listening to this, if you want the Chiefs to win, hopefully it's with a bunch of other fans, true fans that are invested, or if it's by yourself. Well, the chances are I'm going to be staying at home with my family just so I can be at peace. I'm probably, you know me, during games I usually go on Twitter and I live tweet to discuss, and we talk in the chats. I think this game I have to go radio silent. I think I just have to be in my own thoughts and just go off the grid for those 4 hours, because I don't know if I can take it. I'm so invested in this game, so I might go radio silent. But yeah, wherever you're watching the game, guys, I hope you enjoy, and let's get it. Let's bring it
fly, baby.
home, guys. For your listening, thank you so much, fam, for supporting A2D Radio for us and our new show. We had a blast shooting this show and having all the guests. It's been such an experience, and we got so much for you for the next few months that we can't wait to bring to you. Definitely, if you have, I know since it's not live, it's tough to interact with you. If you have any questions or stuff you want us to talk about, hit us up. Let us know, and we will definitely bring it up on the next show. So absolutely, we'll check the comments and stuff like that. We're always trying to stay in touch and be in touch with you guys. But our sponsor, shout out to Untitled Chapter again. If you want a vacation, especially if it's a Disney Universal, make sure you hit me up. For the rest of us at A2D Radio, for myself, Chucks, for my boy OG Pete, we thank you. God bless. We will see you next week, hopefully celebrating an Eagles Super Bowl.
2. Now peace on 2. 2 Lombardis. Go Birds, baby.
Go Birds.